Call the meeting to order, please. July 27th, the Winslow Town Council. Lisa, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes, I can. Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell's not here. Tricia Ayers not here. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Quirian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes, could we all rise and pledge allegiance?
They moved it on us.
All right, Amanda.
All right.
We'll just go to, Chad is good.
That's right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion, please, to go into executive session?
So moved.
Jeff, so moved, seconded by Mr. Kirian. Bill, can you say the words?
We're going in pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 405, subsection 6A and D.
Personal matters.
Personnel matters and consultation with legal
Consultation
counsel.
with legal services.
All right, I'm getting out.
I know he's at 70
Coming back
something.
from executive session, thank you, sorry for the delay. Item 3, approval of minutes of previous meeting, June 8th, July 7th, July 13th, and July 21st.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, communications, nomination papers, Lisa, could you?
There are several seats vacant, 3 on the council, 4 on the school board. Am I right, Peter? Yes, 3 plus the at-large, 2 library, and 1 on the Kennebec Water District. So papers are available today. Several have taken them out, and they're all due back by September 4th. That's it.
Okay, that's it?
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Can
Okay.
you let me know if anyone runs against me?
1 so far. I've issued 3 today in Jerry's, and then you're the second one.
So, I'll set reports of committees and commission. We'll go with the town manager's report, please.
Mr. Chairman, right now, the only thing I would have is I would ask the council to appoint 2 members to be on the search committee for police chief.
Okay, we can do that at a later time, and tonight, we can do it. We'll get you
I'm trying to
committee
get the
reports.
committee together this week.
Yep,
Because the applications closed last Friday, and I've got probably 8 or 10, and I'd
Yeah.
kind of like to get the process going.
yeah, why don't we finish the reports, and then we'll go right into that,
that's fine.
and form the committee right after that.
That's all.
Is that
I
all
would
you
have.
have? in-
That's all I would have. The rest of the stuff's under
And there weren't
discussion.
any other reports.
Yep, I know that Chief Rodriguez, I know you were going to update on the fire department and the transportation, since, could you give us a little update of how many transports and anything like that? And how revenues are going?
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, we have, since inception, July 6th, we've transported 32 patients. We've had 2 calls covered for while we were on another call. So Delta's covered 2 calls for us so far. We've asked for 4 intercepts. 1 was not met. 3 were met. So we've had 3 out of our 4 intercepts requested met. And then we have 3 instances where the Delta has taken a direct call and responded into Winslow that I'm investigating. So to date, there has been over $21,000 billed, and if you take on average 65% of that, that brings us just under $14,000 for 3 weeks.
Can you email that to me?
I can.
Well, thank you for the effort of the fire department. Every time I go in, it seems to be smooth, it seems to be, and I think the people, the fire department, they're stepping up and doing, the work.
Things are running really,
It's all
really well.
Frontline people that are putting themselves out there. I know we appreciate it very much, and the effort that they're making.
Well, appreciate the confidence that the council has put in us, and things are going very well for the department in this endeavor. So,
I know we have a discussion item, don't leave.
I won't.
We have a discussion item.
yep, I'm sticking around.
So if you could stay around, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Peter? I'm sure you got something to say on the schools, but we don't have all night, I'm sure. But,
We have a committee that's in place to look at a return to school committee. It's made up of different people, nurses, teachers, administrators, parents, and we're looking at all of the components that we need to look at in order for us to return to school. Of course, this Friday is the big day where the state is going to announce what zone our region is in. If you get a green allocation, then it's the best that you can possibly get, because they say the cases are low in this particular area. If it's a yellow, then you have to look at things a little bit differently in terms of how many students you can have in school, and then if it's red, it's back to remote learning. So we are working on those 3 different scenarios and have a draft plan that we want to share with the committee tomorrow as to what that would look like with those 3 different scenarios. So that's where we are right now. There are a lot of dominoes to this. If one thing works, great. If something works and something else doesn't work, it causes us to go in a different direction. So there are a lot of moving parts still. But we are working our way through it, and I feel good about the progress that we've made to date.
Yep, and just, and if the council has any questions, so green, what would that mean as far as occupancy of the school? We're not looking now at anything to do with the old junior high school needing space or that type of situation, right?
We may still be looking at that depending on what happens. Let me give you an example of that. So green is the best score this area could receive. So that means that we can open our schools to students. So the idea would be most students would be back in school. You may have parents who choose remote learning still at that, even if we're green. And so we need to know how many students we're going to have returning if we get a green rating.
Yeah.
If all of the kids come back, we're going to need space at the junior high because you have to socially distance in a classroom. You have to have 3 feet between desks. And if you've got 20 kids in a class, you can't socially distance. You can only get about maybe 12 kids or 13 kids. We've measured our classes. We've looked at how many desks we can put in there. So you can only get so many desks in a classroom. And so what happens with the overflow? So there's a possibility that we might still need some space at the junior high school if that happens and all kids come back.
And if that's the case, will we get funding? We get additional funding for that type of, is there something in the pipeline that says?
There is some funding that's coming our way, some federal dollars, that can only be used on COVID-19 related work. It cannot be used for anything that you have had in your budget. It can't supplant the budget. So the quick answer to your question is yes, we would have some funding that we could use to rent that space.
I can't even imagine, considering it's July 27th, and usually we start school either before or after Labor Day.
Right.
The decisions that still have to be made, as soon as, you know what I mean, it's right.
Right.
So we thank you.
We're going to be moving.
We have to-
We're going to be moving
Is it,
extremely
yeah, any of the
quickly.
councilors, have any questions for
I
Peter?
have one. If, let's say we're green,
Yep.
and you have to use the junior high, which it is what it is, what else, how are you gonna staff that?
You staff it with existing people, and you hire additional staff if you need to. For example, I just gave the elementary school permission to hire an extra teacher that wasn't budgeted, which we will pay for out of this money, because it's not a budgeted item, it's
Right.
something as a result of COVID, so we can do that. The problem with this money is it has to be expended by December 30th. So you have a very short window
Right.
to expend the money. And so you have to be thinking very creatively as to what types of things. For example, we've purchased $52,000 worth of Chromebooks so that we are ready online, ready to go. We've looked at purchasing a bus, because if we have an extra bus, we can rotate it into an extra teacher. So those are the types of things that we would spend this money on, is to get our schools up and running.
Okay, so basically then you just take the money saved in the budget to go towards those salaries.
No, because those are different salaries.
Okay.
It's a different, it's an extra person, because we've got a 4th grade class with 24 students in it. So that's a big class.
Right.
But then when you say, okay, you got to socially distance, I can only put 13 kids in there. What am I going to do with the other 13? I need another teacher to teach those kids. So that's where the other teacher comes in.
Right.
Only for a year. It's a 1-year thing.
Okay, well, okay.
Using
That's where I was
these
confused
funds.
with the whole having to expend the money by December.
Right. Right. So-
Salaries are different, I take it.
Right, so what happens is, you had two things going on. You had a CARES package that you probably heard about, that came out several weeks ago, and now you've got this other relief that's come out. You can use the relief money until December 20th. You can use the CARES after.
Okay.
So
Thank
that's
you.
how we'll handle that.
That clears it up now.
Well, that's how we'll handle it.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
No extra cost to us.
That's good.
Considering we were having trouble finding teachers anyway, how do you coming up with, like, oh, I need another teacher? There's teachers out there and qualified personnel out there.
It's a great question, Ray. So what's happened is we're interviewing for candidates now, right? Because we needed to have an extra teacher in grade 1 because of numbers, and grade 2 because of numbers. So of the candidates that we're interviewing, we're able to look at that pool and pick from that pool.
Do you know any indication that some of the parents obviously want their kids to go to school, but some parents aren't going to feel comfortable sending their kids to school? Do they have the option for virtual learning, or you'll provide that too for the kids?
So that's part of the draft plan that we're going to talk about tomorrow. And so that draft plan, if it's green, it basically says that's the majority of our kids come back to school, except if you have parents who choose to do some remote learning for a period of time. You might have some students who have compromised health conditions who can't come back, so we will offer the remote for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Do you anticipate any of your staff members, teachers or staff members that may be in an at-risk category that may want to also opt out? And can they help with the students at a distance learning and things like that? Is that an option?
That is absolutely an option, and that is one of the pieces that we need to look at. Once we hear from all staff in terms of what the concerns are, then we can look at how do we put these pieces together. And these are all the things that we've got to move quickly on once we know what color our area is.
I just want to say that I'm glad that you guys are doing this. You're in charge of it. I have utmost confidence that you guys will come up with a solution.
Like I said, we're not envious. You have a great job.
Now, when you look at the decisions that the council made way back 2 years ago, we were looking at dissolving the AOS and saying, you know, we need this. We did that because of budgetary reasons, and because we thought we would get better input, but yet, what a timing wise that we have the resources financially and staff-wise at that level to be able to handle the situations that we're dealing with here. I mean, any other questions? If not, thank you, Peter.
Thank you
very much. Any finance committee? None, right?
None.
None, no financial reports?
Nope.
There are no other reports. Going into the regular public comment, is there any, at this point in time, anybody from the public that would like to comment? Seeing no public comment, we'll go to resolution number 25-2019, providing, this was a table, but providing for the authorization for the town manager to accept the attached proposal, letter of agreement from Dirigo Engineering and Design a drainage system for property on the Cushman Road at a cost of $14,000. Paul, that should remain tabled, right?
Correct.
Yep. Old business, order 13-2020, providing for the acceptance of the labor contract between council number 93, AFSCNE, AFL-CIO Winslow, Fire and Public Works employee in the town of Winslow.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Be there no discussion? Lisa, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes. Order number 14-2020, providing for the acceptance of Blue Jay Way in a portion of Partridge Lane located in the approved Heartland Estates condominium subdivision and recorded Kennebec County Registry of Deeds.
Second.
Open up for discussion. Any discussion? No discussion? I believe that's roll call too.
It
right?
definitely is. Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Querian.
Yes.
Ben Twitchell. Ray Karen.
Yes. Order number 15-2020, providing for the sale of 5 tax-acquired properties.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Yep.
I'd like to amend that to take the 2 properties on the China Road off at this point until Mr. Davis can get his paperwork straightened out with us.
I'm not sure at this point. I think we should leave it as a foreclosed property and then sell it to him with a quick claim deed. It's been foreclosed. Taxes haven't been paid.
I did talk to Judy today, and she had recommended that we keep the 5 tax-acquired properties, is that they're working on it, and like Paul said, the resolution would be a quick deed to, to him, and they're working it out, lawyers are working it out. But it's up to the council whether they feel comfortable
Correct.
or whatever.
I don't feel comfortable voting on 5.
On 5. We can table the whole of 5.
Yeah, I would,
That's for sure.
excuse me.
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
I would say if you're not gonna put all 5 of them out, that you don't put any of them out, you table the whole thing,
Yep.
because you don't want to treat somebody differently in that group. I think you have to be careful. You don't want to set that precedent,
Yep.
and we either table the whole thing or we pass the whole thing and allow him to negotiate the purchase of it, which is the back taxes anyways,
Yep,
probably.
yes, right. Can I have an amendment then to table this?
Well, let me remove
Go ahead.
my
Yep.
amendment. I move that we table this.
Second.
That's it, all in favor, right? All those in favor of tabling order 15-2020? All those opposed?
I didn't realize there'd been a change.
Tabled.
It is a quick roll call. It's an order.
It's in order?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just quickly, Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer. Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion. Ben Twitchell.
Yes.
And Ray Karen.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
New business, order number 16-2020, providing for authorization for the town council chair to sign an employment agreement with candidate B, hereinafter called the manager, to perform the services of town manager.
So move,
Second.
and then for the, what,
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Roll call for table?
Yes, there is. Jeff West.
Yes.
Well, first of all, any discussion on tabling? If there's,
Going back to the 70s.
no discussion on tabling, could we have a roll call?
Jeff West.
Yes.
Steve Russell.
Yes.
Patricia Ayer.
Yes.
Lee Trahan.
Yes.
Jerry Clarion. Ben Twitchell. Ray Karen.
Yes. And discussion items, the acquisition of a second ambulance by the fire department. What's the matter?
No, we,
The other
Yeah,
resolution?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Greenway?
I'm sorry, you're right.
I don't have that one.
So,
Resolution 32-2020.
so move,
yep, go ahead. So moved.
second.
Go ahead.
No roll call.
No, roll call. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Hmm?
Discussion.
Okay, discussion, yep, go ahead.
Okay, roll call.
Roll call?
No roll call.
No roll call. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed?
Do we
I lost-
discuss
I
it
lost
now?
my place. That's
Should we discuss it now?
No.
That's an understatement.
Discussion.
That was, Now we'll go with discussion items, okay? The acquisition of a second ambulance.
The weather is making us all crazy.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we have had numerous discussions with regards to the feasibility of having an additional unit, not only as a backup, but should the first line unit go down, but also in the event that we have subsequent calls, we would be able to respond and take care of the patients and the citizens within our jurisdiction. It would be my recommendation that we pursue the purchase of a second used ambulance. I was asked what the additional cost outside of the purchase price of an ambulance would be, and a good hard estimate is $28,700 for necessary equipment to outfit, remaining equipment to outfit the ambulance. So if we had a purchase price of an ambulance equivalent to what we've already purchased, we'd be under $90,000.
What was the purchase price of the ambulance that we currently have?
The ambulance that we purchased was $58,000, and then the council authorized up to $85,000 for additional equipment and lettering to get the ambulance ready to transport. I would also add that there is a significant, I don't want to say significant, there is a lead time from the time authorization, should it be granted, to the ability to put it in service. It usually, the current one we used took up to 60 days, but that one was readily available. It could take time to find a second one of equal quality.
And I can only speak for myself, but already once that we've had to ask Delta, we were on a call, we had to ask Delta to come in as a backup, correct?
No, sir, it was, you're close. Twice.
Twice, so
Yes, sir.
twice already. And that's not to say that this won't need regular maintenance or mechanical maintenance that will be down, I think, from the beginning. I've always felt, and I can only speak for myself, that that if we're going to get into this business, is that we need to have a backup equipment that would be, I don't know how the other councilors feel about that, but you've given us a price, you know what I mean? Lee, go ahead.
If I may, my question is not so much the equipment as we get another rig, and how are we gonna staff that and still maintain the community presence of being fire ready?
Mr. Chairman, that's an excellent question. Through this process, there's been several concerns raised with regard to paramedic level care provided. I have taken the steps to hire per diem paramedics that would work peak hours when we typically have the most call volume, the hours prior to 8 o'clock in the evening, 7 days a week. Those per diem personnel would be paid for from other budgeted items of payroll, such as the part-time personnel, the budgeted position that we have set aside for the Safer Act position. So there's already money that's allocated towards payroll. If we are awarded the Safer grant, then the federal government is paying 100%, so we don't have to set aside that money. I can use that to pay the per diems. So the per diems would be covered through those two line items just during peak hours. That would help supplement the staffing for the second ambulance should we have a second call.
Thank you.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Presently, I'm assuming you have one cot.
I'm sorry?
You have one cot, correct?
We have two.
Oh, we do have two?
We have two.
Both the battery operated?
Power load.
Okay. Well, that just saves some money.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we had talked about too is, right now, we have one ambulance. This ambulance would be there fully staffed so that you wouldn't have to transfer equipment. And so that would give us a potential to answer two calls at the same time, is that correct?
That is correct. In order to license the vehicle, it has to be equipped with everything that is on the list for the that the state of Maine EMS requires. We can't just transfer the license from one vehicle to the next. If we're going to have two, they both have to be licensed, and they're both subject to the same inspections that the first one underwent.
Could you give us a yearly maintenance cost for those? For now, you've given us a yearly maintenance cost for one ambulance, but the reoccurring maintenance cost for both ambulances on a yearly basis for the budget?
Could you double it?
I would extrapolate from the first ambulance the same amount towards the second. It's hard to. I wouldn't look for anything with excessive mileage.
Yeah.
So I would look for a comparable unit. I want to say that I'm going on memory. I'd be remiss if I quoted a figure that I put down for maintenance costs, but I would extrapolate it, it would be pretty comparable.
Okay, okay. Next year, we'll have to budget that added maintenance cost on a yearly basis. It's going to be a reoccurring cost, not just equipment versus in the upkeep of that equipment, the cardiac, all the monitors and everything. There'll be a price with there. I think, I don't know how we're not going to be able to get a second ambulance myself. I think it's really needed. But we also need to know the associated costs with that equipment and the maintenance for the vehicle. If you could get that for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, yes, sir. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the concerns you have towards equipment and the replacement cost of equipment. And I would just like to reassure that the equipment that we have purchased is new, with the exception of the unit itself and the ambulance itself. And the cot and the monitors all come with we purchased warranties with them. So we have that covered. The cardiac monitors, 5 years extended beyond the manufacturer's warranty. We have the warranties on the cots.
And the maintenance plan, correct?
Sir?
The maintenance plan on the cots and everything too as well?
Correct, the maintenance plan on the cots as well.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was just curious, what does a brand-new ambulance cost, and what kind of warranty comes with one of those?
Mr. Chairman, that's, again, another excellent question. To purchase a brand-new ambulance, you're looking anywhere from $200,000 to $260,000. And I would like, given the fact that we have set up the revenue stream as an enterprise account, some of that to be allocated towards the future purchase of a new unit. And then one of the two that is in the worst shape in the future, that can be disposed of, and we would alternate the two to get the most life out of both of them, should we buy a new one in the future. Does that make sense?
Chief, what I have for a question is, has this unit required any maintenance right now? Or any work to be done on it?
There was, Mr. Chairman, through the chair, there was one instance where there was some power steering leakage. We had that repaired.
Now, did they provide a backup ambulance from where we got it?
We had the backup ambulance provided, yes, sir.
From where we bought our,
He had one available, but there would have been a logistical nightmare given the timing of the repair. So we used a alternative ambulance system.
all I wanted.
I'm making it work through the chair. I'm making it work.
Right.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Okay. For the purchase of another ambulance, we have yet to know what Winslow will get for revenue sharing from the state.
We don't know.
No. And we're not gonna purchase it right now.
We're having a discussion just today, just a discussion.
But I'm
now.
saying, Paul, through you, when do you expect the state to announce their revenue sharing?
I believe they said sometime mid-August at the earliest. I checked last week, nothing had changed, so I'm sure that they're all in the same boat with the reduced staff trying to get numbers together, I'm sure.
I think they're going back for a 10-day session starting August, and don't quote me on this, August 10th. They're going back, and I think one of the items they're addressing is shortfall of revenue sharing and how to either make that up or not make it up. I'm sure there'll be a lot of pressure on them. I know they've heard it from quite a few of us that, we've already set our budgets. We'll have to reopen the budget, and anything like that would be detrimental. I can't even imagine.
I mean, revenue sharing is an issue every year.
Yeah, but we budgeted for 3.5%, which was a great increase for us this year, but given the shortfalls of sales tax and income tax, I would think that, you know what I mean, that we would be in a tough hurt. But who knows? We don't know till they get into session, and then something comes, we can figure it out. We'll have to figure it out at that point. Thank you. I think, you know, we have the information we need, and all I need is just if you could give the maintenance thing, and then the thing is the council at some point in time to have either a discussion on how do we move forward with this type of situation. And then where does the money come from? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mind beginning the process, and if he wants to start searching and then bring it to us, you know, we can't guarantee anything when he brings it to us.
Right.
But, you know, we've got to know what we're looking at, what year,
Yeah.
how many miles, how much.
I mean-
If you want to start that process and you find a deal that you
We've got the
find
money, yeah.
can't be beat, that you need to move on it, we'll take it up, I think. But I wouldn't, you know, we're not going to make a commitment tonight.
No,
Till we
I'm not
see-
asking.
till we see
That's why
what
we're
we-
just having the discussion
Yeah,
tonight.
till we see what
How
he
the
brings to
council, what does the council, how the council wants to move
If he
forward.
wants to start a search for a used one, that wouldn't bother me, and then bring those numbers to us.
And we do have money in the capital, his capital.
His capital,
account.
right, yeah.
That
So
would be
why
able to
can't-
cover it.
Why can't we make a motion for him to look into options and to not exceed $90,000? That way he has a cap, and then whenever he brings forward to us, then we can vote on that. I know I'm springing this on everyone right now.
We had
what I
asked,
do.
Mike, before he left, had asked the departments to hold off on capital spending until we got the revenue sharing numbers and that we were more sure. And I think we haven't changed that situation yet. This is a good preliminary. If we do maintain our revenue sharing, this is a good opportunity here that we want to move forward, that next month we would know, maybe not by the August, but by the September 1st. I know it's not ideal, but I think prudently we have to look at it as financially for the town. But we want it in the pipeline, and we want the need, I believe, and I think the rest of the council believes that the need is there and the potential for us, that once we're in it, let's make sure that we can adequately provide, you know, reliable service to not that we aren't, but, you know, in case of a breakdown or something.
So if we wait till September, that means we probably won't get one until Christmas, eventually, if you find,
Yes, ma'am, through the chair, it depends on what's available out there. And I'm not going to be deceitful. I have made phone calls to find out what's available based on our previous conversations and the direction that the council appears to be going. And I just, you know, I'm not, like you said, Mr. Chairman, we're just having a discussion here, but there is a lead time if we want to implement a second unit, that it does take from the time of finding, purchasing, and the order, second reading. There is a delay, and I just would ask respectfully that that time frame be a consideration.
Yeah, we'll look at some other things tonight for money-wise, that, you know what I mean, that we have to consider, so.
Absolutely.
As part of this discussion here, I think,
Through the chair,
yeah,
could we ask the chief to also look in the lease purchase prices as well?
Lease purchase would be 10% down, financed over 5 years, just over 3%.
Okay. Could you just get us a roundabout price per year?
like,
$50,000 a year.
Okay. Well, that's roundabout.
I try to be ready.
that's for a new ambulance.
That would be for a brand-new one.
Go ahead, Steve.
I think one advantage we have of meeting twice a month now is the fact that we can move quicker on this stuff. Once we find out what's going on. It's not
Yeah.
like we have to wait 30 days for the next meeting. So I think we're more nimble that way. And
Yeah.
I think that if he brings us the right figures and we hear from the state what we're getting, we'll be able to make that decision quicker than normal, I think.
When would we hear from the state?
Well, Paul just said mid-August, maybe?
In August.
But that's like actual, because I remember one year they didn't get back to us for a really long time.
That's what they've been saying, so I can't speak to that beyond that. but-
I think when the legislature gets together, the appropriations committee has a lot of work to do. They're going to be flooded with EPS formula, with the revenue sharing, with a lot of issues at that point in time. And I think that's, I'm no expert on it, but I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that's why the mid-August is just saying, if it's 10 days, they start August 10th, then that's going to be about the time, mid-August, before things get back. Yep, go ahead.
You know, if I remember correctly, before Mike left, we were, with the figures that he had at that time, we were looking at over $400,000 cut in our revenue sharing, which meant we would, if we go back to look at the budget, we're going to have to cut for over $400,000 out of what we already budgeted.
Yeah, I don't remember how many, I don't know if it was 400.
446,000.
Was it?
Yep.
Was it that much that we were going to have to make up, so?
Yep.
Right, but the money's in the account, right? You have the money in your capital account? So if we wanted to buy an ambulance for $80,000 right now, he has the money.
He does, but if we have to make up the $450,000, we've asked all departments right now to stop
Cut.
capital spending. He hasn't hired people. We haven't done a lot of different things. That money would be saying that, we would apply that to the least amount of revenue sharing, or we would have to find another revenue stream of increasing taxes. Or the mill rate would have to go up to make up that $450,000. So we've asked people, departments, to hold the spending correctly. So, I don't think we can make a decision until at least we know what the shortfall of revenue sharing is, if there is any. And if there isn't any, the best scenario would be to move forward, because we do have the capital.
I just have one more question for the chief, if that's okay.
Yeah.
What's the lead time on, say, a lease purchase?
It depends on what's in the pipeline, and it could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days, depending on if we're just taking a stock item off the line.
Okay.
And that's
I was
like
just-
painted too?
That is not. That is just finding, getting in, sneaking in the line, and
At the base white ambulance, pretty much. That's how they go off the line.
I think we're all set.
Right?
Yep, go ahead.
Through the chair, how do we stand on the two?
through the chair, that's a great question. I am anxiously anticipating the phone call that says come to Wisconsin and do the final inspection. I look for that to come within 3 weeks, I would say, for the engine. They're both in production, and I'm pretty excited about it. They're looking sharp. So we did get pushed back as a result of the COVID, the manufacturing process. I have no control over, but I am getting the word from the representative that we're looking at the end of August, before the end of August for the engine, and September timeframe still for the ladder truck, for the Quinn.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
But, Mr. Chairman, I do want to say thank you to the council for the support that they've shown myself and the department in venturing into this service to our citizens. I'm pleased, and not only in the way our members have responded, but in the way it's been received by the public, the people we serve. And I just want to thank you for the support to the council for that they've shown for this endeavor. I appreciate it.
Well, we're not the ones out there on the front line answering calls every day. We're not the ones that are doing all the work. You guys are the ones that I'm sure I speak for the whole council, is we thank you for the work during this unprecedented time, that you put yourself out there every day for the for the citizens of the town of Winslow. So, and we've been able to keep at least some type of schedule through this whole thing, which is another testament to, and we're already talking about, enhancing the abilities, so that's another thing that it's, if there was any hiccups or anything, we wouldn't be talking here. What we're talking here is a very positive sign, because it is working well, and the dedication of our firefighters is making it work, and so we can move on to, you know what I mean?
Without question.
The issues that we deal with, like financing and continuation of care and stuff, so.
Yes, sir.
I think we're done with you.
Thank you.
I know, second discussion item was bond to finance road improvements, so. I know that we had mentioned here about a $2.5 million bond. I don't know, Paul, can you say some of the needs and what we're falling behind?
There's no lack of needs. I mean, there's probably 15 miles of road out in the country that need to be reclaimed and paved, and a whole development off of Sunset Heights that needs to be done, so obviously $2.5 million is not gonna do all of it, but it would be a good start. I did get some information from our bond consultant. We could go 10 or 15 years. I don't think I'd go anywhere beyond that. Even 10 years is probably pushing it, because you'll end up paying for roads that you're ready to repave and they're not paid for yet, so. I think at the 10 years, we were looking at, what, $250,000 a year plus interest?
Yeah, $250 a year, that would
And
be.
they told us it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to process it, to get it done, so if we start somewhere in, I think he said February or something, we'd have the money for next spring.
Yeah.
Do you have a list of roads for us? Have you finalized that?
I haven't. Definitely, I would finish the Bassett Road next year and then move up towards the Mall Road.
Just stay in District 1, please.
That's where most of it is anyway.
You know, like I say, Sunset Heights is 2.5 miles of streets that needs total rebuild, and sewers and storm drains. They're 60 years old and they're just falling apart, but we can't really do the road till we get.
So Bassett Road was what, a mile for?
We're doing a little bit over a mile this year.
For
It's about half. It's
About
250,000 roughly.
Okay, so $2.5 million bond,
You know,
gonna give us
obviously.
roughly 11 miles of that type of work.
Right.
You start getting into Sunset Heights, you're looking a whole lot more than
You are.
50,000
You
miles.
are, but some of the work you could get, through like USDA right now, we'll get a bond for Benton Avenue that we're at 1.5% for 30 years, which you can do like on sewer work, because sewer work will last you 50, 60 years, so that's not an issue. There's different bonding sources to do that, but the projects need to be done hand in hand. You can't go in there and fix the streets if you don't do what's in the ground.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
just doesn't make sense.
And I think in principle, we're looking at if, we could engineer the work this winter and this fall and winter in anticipation for next April, is taking out the bond, so the money would be in February, so the money would be available April 1st. But then at that point in time, the first payment would not be until July or August, which would be the first payment in the next fiscal year. So we wouldn't have to budget for it until next year.
Now, one
Go
other
ahead, Steve.
question for Paul, if I
Yeah,
may.
go ahead. Yeah.
Like Morrill Road,
Yes.
I mean, that's gonna be, I'm assuming, a pretty hefty job, price-wise.
It's what we're doing with all the others. We're reclaiming them, regrading, and then paving.
Is that gonna be enough out there? With all that,
I'd have to
with
go
all
look
the
at it.
water?
I'd have to go look at it. I mean, we're ditching. If you've been up through the Bassett Road, we've been doing some really heavy ditching. We're
Yeah.
definitely gonna take care of the water problems. That's my plan for all of these. That's why we can only do so much in a year. 'Cause,
Right, no, I understand. I
You
was
know.
just thinking Morrill Road.
I mean,
being-
there might be some sections where we may have to go in and add some material if we find that what's there is thin or substandard, but
Right.
until we get into it. But they're definitely all beyond a shim and over.
No, no question about it.
With the Benton Avenue work, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
Well, no, I would need more information, and maybe you've said it, but I'm having a hard time hearing you from
I'm
over there.
sorry.
You speak too quietly. But I would want some information like, what does $2.5 million buy us? What does it fix? What's the payment gonna be on that, on, say, a 10-year note? I don't think we wanna go more than 10.
I wouldn't go more than
maybe
10.
even 7? And what are we retiring in the next year or two in payments? And
Right.
I would need information like that
Yep.
in the future.
That's why I wanted to, Ray wanted to start the discussion tonight. I mean, we need to get more information and before we actually go out and, vote on an order or something, but I will get more information to you as far as we can and give you a potential list of what we're looking to do. I'd like to split some of it between the country and in town. I don't want to go all out in the country. There's definitely need in town as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
And after talking to Paul, that Benton Avenue project, where we had to bond some of the sewer work for the Benton Avenue project, that 1.5%, that means that on the Sunset Heights sewer projects, is that there's available money that you don't have to pay back. So we're already reaching, once you're in debt, like with this Benton Avenue project, we'll be in debt for the sewer portion of it. That means that you'll qualify for free money for some of the Sunset.
There's a
Heights.
better chance of getting some grant money on your next applications. This time around, we really didn't have any debt for the sewer department except for the bond we had for the truck.
Well, that was another question, was whether or not the federal government or the state government is going to come up with some funds for shovel-ready things.
That's what I'm
Maybe-
hoping.
Maybe we should have the engineering part of it done like Ray
Right.
said and be ready for it.
And
so
that's why I'm hoping if we can get some of that. We've got that Leland Avenue sewer project, storm drain that we had bid out a couple years ago that we couldn't afford. That one is sitting on the shelf. It could go out to bids tomorrow if we can get
Yeah,
somebody throwing some
yeah.
money at us.
Yeah.
And it would solve some of the other discussion items that we get coming up for drainage. So.
I don't know if anybody, I'm sure we all drive through Sunset Heights at some point in time, but the side toward the Augusta Road is just, I don't know how you're gonna plow it, some of that stuff this year, just
Well,
because I can't even.
very slowly.
I think you'd be plowing up asphalt for the most part. Huh? I mean,
Very slowly. Well, that's why we had to repair, I think we've done 4 or 5 manhole tops, because the tops are just gone, and we're, hitting them with the plows, and it's a temporary fix. They're all barrel block manhole. It's 60 years old. This was built in the late 50s, early 60s, and it's time.
Now, what about water?
Water should be fine.
Okay.
50, 60-year-old water lines are considered pretty new. What's considering we have something on Benton Avenue from 1905. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we still got some of the wood, don't we?
What's that?
We still have some of the wood over there, don't we?
Not that I know.
Well, they found some on Bay Street when they did that.
But the Sunset Heights, you're looking at sewer work, you gotta do some drainage work, there's not a whole lot of storm drainage. That's gotta be addressed before we try to fix the streets.
Right.
so can you come back with us with a list of, like, country streets
Yep.
and then town streets?
do that.
That we would do, that we could, and then, and then we could start, I'm sure you have some money there maybe for engineering type, to engineer the projects that we
Yep.
would anticipate for next fall. We do that engineering, and then the spring, we make a decision as to what if it's
Yeah.
2.5 million, because you're never gonna, that would be for, probably last us 3 years, right?
And you probably,
Probably 3 years, so we're looking at, you know what I mean, to
And
do
like-
enough projects for 3 years.
Like Steve said, like payment-wise, look at our bonds, see what's coming up.
Yeah, why don't we do
Would
that?
you
I'll
be-
get the bond payment for next, we'll just continue the discussion.
would we
for
be
next
looking
week.
at using bond money and not doing our regular $500,000 for capital streets like we're doing now? Or would we still be looking, does that make a difference on what I'm looking at for projects?
I would
Even
like,
if-
I would like to see both options.
Yeah,
Or even if we took, say, 100,000 out of the,
Right.
To make the bond payment, you're saying? To
Right.
go towards the
Yeah.
bond? Yeah, yeah.
that would still give you 400,000
Right.
Yeah.
for regular repair. Or, even if it was 150,000, but whatever,
Right.
but still keep that, we've already got stuff that we've done, let's maintain that too.
Yeah.
Well, it's because in '22, when we do Benton Avenue, after we do all the sewer work, we have to match the state. We've got $500,000 to do the paving part. We also have to kick in our $500,000.
Right.
So that take away from some of your bond if we're using the bond money, so just
Yeah.
keep that in
Or we
mind.
could try to budget that over the next
Right.
year or two.
We've got a little bit of time.
Earmark
but-
it for that one project.
absolutely.
For some reason, I keep hoping that we'll have good news on Orion Road, that, might flush in some money, that we could use. No.
I haven't
no
heard
movement
anything. I
on
could
that.
try to give the Realtor a call and see if maybe there's something that he's hearing.
Oh, I'm sure we would hear.
I'm sure he'd get back to us.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure if there's anything there. Next, if we're all done with the discussion on the.
I think Trish had-
the
I have
bond.
something else to bring out that's random, but on Thursday I sent an email to everybody about some funds that we're taking out of the fire department capital account. Did we look into that at all?
we did.
Okay.
That was back in 2011. It's the only place we found.
And it was around 50,000?
It was 5,700.
5,700. Okay. Didn't we take money?
That was quite a while ago, if I remember right.
I believe I was on the council. I've been here that long.
I've been here 9 years, not that I can remember.
Because I know at one point, I think there was like 50,000 taken out for a dump truck, but I think it was before your time.
That was 2011. That was 5,700. We found that order. There was some that came from the assessing, and some came from a little bit of everywhere. I thought I had it with me, but
Doesn't mean
I do.
you applied to it, the fire department.
that's where the money had come from that time. That was before I came.
I wasn't accusing you.
No, I just don't, I didn't remember it when you said it, because, like I say, it was before me.
I really
Great.
thought I was here for that,
No.
but, okay.
Just moving on down to discussion drainage issues, was that you?
Yes, I had two issues, as you guys are aware, the last time we had the big heavy rains. We get two problem areas that we've had consistently. One's up on Robert Street. I'm sure Ben's been aware of that one. And the other one's down by McDonald's. The one on Robert Street, I think we have a fix. I was gonna sign a contract for, I think it was $8,000 with Dirigo to kind of design a fix. Part of the problem up there is to get two 24-inch lines coming into an 18-inch line. Doesn't keep up. But we also have to be careful what we do, because that all drains towards McDonald's as well. So, we gotta look at it carefully, but we gotta solve the problem up on Robert Street. I mean, we're to the point of going and backing up into people's garages, and we're gonna end up with claims if we don't at least try to start.
So the
addressing it.
engineering is 8,000, and we don't know how much the fix is gonna be?
Correct.
Which end of the Robert Street is it, Paul? Is it the other end from me?
It's above you over
Right near Trish.
by Harry, I think.
Okay, see, because it split there, used to go all together.
Right.
And right across from my house, they split it, swung one that way and then one this way. So my area's, in my direction's fine.
Yeah, but this is storm drain, so
Yeah,
storm water.
yeah.
So it's gonna be a little bit challenging. Some of the existing lines pass under people's garages, so it's not like we're gonna replace them. We'll have to come up with other solutions. But it's something I'd like to at least start looking at, because we've had that problem 3-4 times since I've been here, and it's not gonna go away, so. And the other one down on the China Road, well, if we can get some money to do that Leland Avenue storm drain, that would definitely catch a lot of that water from going from Joe Ave into the backyards going down to there. And same thing there, just trying to work our way towards it.
So this live streaming thing kind of works good. I was just told that there was money taken out of the fire department capital for the fuel pumps and tanks, whatever year that was done.
That was probably 2007 or 8.
Just food for thought, that's all.
And I believe that money was earmarked for the apron up front. And the apron has been rebuilt since then.
I don't know.
That's my recollection of how I was told that we owed them an apron.
It was 45,000, give or take.
Okay. So you're gonna do the 8,000 for the engineering?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the McDonald's area, as I'm doing more research, I'll come back to you. That one's a little bit more delicate issue to address.
I bet it is.
I'll leave it at that.
Yep. You all done? No?
Yes, and the last item was mine as well.
Okay.
Just, I was approached twice last week, somebody interested in buying some property off of Bellevue, the empty lots across the street that we own. Somebody would be interested in building high-end townhouses
On Bellevue?
on Bellevue.
We own property over there?
Yes, on the riverside.
Riverside of Bellevue.
Which end?
The wide part.
The what?
The wider part where there's actually enough land to do something.
Go closer to the bridge? Or the-
No, pretty much in the middle of Bellevue,
What's that?
pretty much in the middle.
Okay.
And it's a reputable developer that we have here in town, so he just threw that at me last week after I had said no to another lady who was looking at a property there and said, oh, do you guys want to sell the land across the street? And I said no, but it's up to you guys.
Code-wise, Adams?
I believe it's buildable. The engineering will be a little bit more involved because of the slope, but
It's a builder local?
yes.
I guess I wasn't aware we owned property there and why.
There's a green space on the riverside of Bellevue, and I believe it was in the comprehensive plan and was removed because it's really not much of a
This
spot.
side towards the river, on just the other side of the
We're
road.
gonna have to take a look at it and see.
So,
Could you bring us the tax map next week? We
Yeah.
can take a look at it. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not in the business of
Yeah.
keeping land, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If we
I
can
mean,
get
it's
it-
kind of
get
a
it
little
taxed.
park, but it's more of a nuisance, I think, between the trash and the poop and everything else, but people bring their dogs there.
Amanda would love to get rid of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Why don't you bring us the tax map and
Yeah.
then what's the assessed value, and then we can ask Adam if it's, bring it to us.
Maybe have Amanda
So-
weigh in on it too.
Could you bring us that next meeting?
Yeah.
And then we'll take a look at it, and we can all take a ride
sure,
by. And
sure.
I mean, we're in the business to get tax quite, I mean, if somebody
Well,
wants
it's
to build,
kinda-
I know
We're in the
what
business
they.
for money.
It's kind of how I thought.
Yeah, and I have to apologize for, I had a resolution number 32-220, if I could just say it so the public would know it, when we voted on it before, right, that was the one that was really quick. They're providing for the adoption of the attached request for East Coast Speedway ECG design standard exception by the Kennebec-Mesalonsky Trail and the Winslow Town Council. Be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow as follows. Whereas the Town of Winslow supports a request for East Coast Speedway design standard exception by Mesalonsky Trail for the East Kennebec Trail section. Whereas the attached explanation reasoning justifies the need for the EGC standard exception. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Winslow that the attached explanation and recommendation by Kennebec-Mesalonsky Trail Organization for the ECG design standard exception for the East Kennebec Trail located in Winslow, Maine is hereby adopted. And all that was, if people remember, was that it's a green grassy area now, and to get designated as East Coast Highway, it has to be either paved or gravelled. But in that particular case, the Mesalonsky Trails is asking for an exemption because they feel that that would just be wasted money for that, considering there's a good substructure there. So, that's it. I just wanted to make sure people understood what we were voting on. If there is no other, I'm, make a motion to
No, we
adjourn.
we talk about the police chief committee.
Oh, that's right,
I've
okay,
made
okay.
comments about how I was to
Yep,
be on the
okay,
committee.
yep, sorry, that's right, that was on the agenda. So, obviously, the police chief resigned, and now we're looking at forming a committee for the, I think, I'm open for any discussion on that committee at this point.
I would
Yep.
like to serve on the committee.
That's what I,
And Steve?
I would like to serve too.
Steve?
I don't know how big a committee you guys need, but that's,
I was gonna try to keep it under 6 or 7 people. I don't want to get it too involved and too large.
Ray, as we did discussed, and I told you I'd get a hold of those 2 other gentlemen,
Yep,
Chief Mills would like to be on that.
yep, yep.
Sergeant, Deputy Chief Bonnie decided he did not want to do it, just because of the interaction that they have. He doesn't want to screw
Yeah.
that up.
I gave you a suggestion for someone from the town as well.
Okay.
I don't know if you reached out to him.
I have not yet. Steve?
I don't know if we overuse people, but we had a couple of people from the community that worked really good on the, we had one from Oakland who, I think he was a police chief too.
Yeah.
And
My
so
suggestion
it's
was.
just a thought.
My suggestion was Tom Davis. or someone from the community.
I just give that list.
What were you looking for a number?
6 or 7 at the most.
6 or 7?
I don't want to make it too complicated.
No?
I was going to ask Judy, I was going to ask the chief.
Yeah, I think the fire chief would probably
Since
want to
they
be on
work
that.
together probably more than any other department.
I would think the fire chief would want to, if he wants to.
I had already thought
They're
of
pretty close
talking
together,
to
I assume.
Chief Mills. He's been thrown out there.
Oh, you did talk to him as well?
I haven't, but his name's been thrown out there by
Yeah, I did talk
other
to him
people.
through Ray, and he'd love to do it.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with him.
Okay.
And I had talked to Mr. Drappel, who was interested as well.
So,
Just out of curiosity, would you consider a handful, 3, 4, 5, that rise to the top and you have a Zoom meeting if they're not from the local area?
Well, that's what my thought is.
Like
I
a preliminary?
I was looking at what Mike did when he hired Chief O'Leary, and I believe he had the committee evaluate everybody's resumes,
Yep.
scored the resumes, and then pick the top 4 or 5 for actual interviews. Some of them, quite a few of them are out of state, we'll have to do that Zoom. I've got a couple in-state, and move forward that way.
Yep.
And pretty much what we just did.
Huh?
Yeah.
Pretty much what we just did.
Similar, yeah, yeah, except for we didn't, well, we did get all the resumes, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause Peter, David had broken them out
Yeah, yeah.
into the 2 stacks.
I know Mike had an actual set of questions, and he had a chart set up where, rank them 1 to 10.
Yeah, I
whatever.
can remember doing that, I can remember.
I believe you were on there, I've got
Yep.
his list, and
Yep.
So 3 counselors, Chief Mill, maybe Peter Drapo, Chief Rodriguez, that's 6.
well, Tom Davis would be 7,
And Judy.
and Judy
We
would be
want,
6.
we want Judy as well.
Steve, Jeff, Trish,
she said in a
Mills,
lot of them, it's not
Drapo,
necessary.
Davis, Judy, and Ron.
And
That would
there-
be 7.
There probably wouldn't be any voting on this, right? This would be a case where we would just, the committee would present it to the council? Oh, no, you would make the decision.
make the
don't you? You're the-
decision.
You're the personnel director, okay.
Hopefully, we come up with a top candidate, and then
Right,
try to make the scoring as fair as possible.
but the council does not vote on that, that's your decision.
Correct.
Okay.
But the council has to approve it, correct? Isn't that how that works?
Yeah, they would be in order or something.
Well, you'll have an order, because chances are you're going to give them a contract like you've done the other chief, so
Right.
that's a council order, because it goes beyond a year. You've just been a 3-year contract.
Okay. Do you want to email us with the final committee? How do you?
No, I think right now we're looking at 3 councilmen, 2 people at large, Police Chief Mills, Department Head Judy, and Ron.
Okay.
I'm looking at that right
Yep.
now. and
Yeah, that's
stuff, you
fine.
know. And I would say, you know what I mean, like I say with all committees and stuff, if you feel like you can be objective in any committee, we have to feel that we can be objective for, you know what I mean, for open-minded about the best candidate that comes into the process. And I'm sure with this group that we can do that, you know, keep open-minded about everything.
I'll try to get everything set up this week, so hopefully next week we can start doing something.
Do you have Chief Mills' number?
I'll find it.
I've got it, I'll give it to you. Wanna leave?
I'm sure if I call the Augusta Police Department, they can connect me.
And there's like 8 or 9 applicants, you said?
Yeah, 8 or 9 or 10, somewhere,
Okay.
at least 8.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Trish, for bringing that up.
you're welcome.
Almost let it go again. Any other? Anybody got anything else? If not, I make.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.